I come across an article in Raw Story. The war will soon commence. Proud Boys exploit a new grievance to mainstream political violence. Um, Get a quick summary of the article. It's really interesting. Proud Boys have injected themselves into controversies over masking and the coronavirus vaccine over the past month, showing up at school board meetings and joining protests at government buildings. Um, um, Threatening to forcibly remove school board members who uphold a masking mandate in Pennsylvania. Anti-vaccine activists in LA publicly shared city council members' home addresses while calling on supporters to sharpen your knives, get your guns, prepare for civil war. I'm not going to go through all this. I'm going to go through all this here. Um, this guy's talking about, he's in Reading, Pennsylvania. He's talking about my 8-year-old, 7 last year, came home crying because she was told it's not her body, her choice anymore. It's your choice. And my children's body, that's the way it works. We're talking about a mask. He's talking as though someone's doing something to his daughter. They simply have a policy requiring masks when you're on school property. Take care of my kids as well, not need your assistance. She had to put a mask on my child, it will not happen. Then I guess he was threatening a reporter or something. Cassie Miller, a senior researcher analyst at the Southern Poverty Law Center, told the Raw Story, Proud Boys' exploitation of grievance surrounding COVID restrictions reflects the group's tendency to latch on to culture war issues to, quote, drum up political tensions. It's no surprise, she said, that it was seized on the issue since the pandemic remains at the forefront of public discussion. Joining the anti-mask and anti-vaccine resistance is a way for Proud Boys to undermine faith in the government and health experts, she said in the email. It's also a way of reinforcing their own political reality, in which authoritarian forces are taking over the country, and patriots like the Proud Boys need to step in and set things right. These are also spaces where the Proud Boys can build up coalition across the far right, uniting sometimes disparate groups into a united right-wing movement. Some of the rhetoric has gone beyond undermining faith to type of insurrectionary rhetoric with a perceived attack on the Capitol. Be prepared. Jamie Bertino of North Carolina, Proud Boy, wrote, the end of civilization as we know it is near. Stack food, ammo, and water. The war will soon commence. He threatened to exterminate left-wing counter-revolutionaries in North Carolina, September 2020. He was stabbed in D.C. the following month. His apocalyptic call captions a video purporting to show the Australian government's response to the pandemic. Have you heard about what's happening in Australia? The narrator asked. Children being taken from their parents to go get the shot. Both the AP and Reuters have reported they are not being forced to take the shot against their parents' wishes. Going back to what he said, quote, so everyone who calls aggravators for exaggerators for comparing our current reality 1930s Germany, our concerns starting to make sense now, the narrator says. Do you realize that a constant state of emergency only serves as an excuse for global tyranny? How do you think the Holocaust began? Do you think that mass genocide begins with public hangings? Or does it start with systematic disarming and segregation of public citizens? The video concludes with the narrator literally dehumanizing government officials, comparing coronavirus restrictions to the atrocities committed by the Nazis is, quote, offensive to the memory of those who died in the Holocaust. But we're also concerned that presenting the vaccine as inherent evil akin to the Holocaust of Nazis is a type of tactic that animates extremists. It's a tactic that demonizes things in such a way that animates people to action. All right. It said, it was like Proud Boys need police. They read police in action as tacit approval. Quote, without police interference, they feel they have license to maintain law and order how they see fit. They made a great point. I'd like to see civil society rally behind democratic institutions to counteract the threat from the Proud Boys and allied groups. Democratic institutions need to be supported because there is really a concerted effort by the Proud Boys, other far-right anti-democratic groups, to target these institutions. But it's needed to support institutions by the libraries, school boards, elected officials. These institutions need to be supported by the state and federal government. These threats are real. They're not going away. I'm sorry. I got to get to it. We saw this. Let's get to it because this is white aggrievement. I just read white. This is all white aggrievement. That's where I always go back to in my content. This is about a society that is moving away from revolving around the Caucasian male. That's what this is. And this is the frustration that came about. I feel as though we've always faced this. Like you've always had, they're disarming us. The Brady Act is to take away all the guns, and they're going to put us in FEMA camps. We've always had this, and that COVID exposed how balkanized America is, or how America is lacking as even a united country, that people would go to that asking you to wear the mask when you're in a store is the Nazis, akin to the Nazis. It's funny because the Nazis in the 30s ran the beer putsch, where they tried to take over the government, and then it failed. Proud Boys and what happened on January the 6th and the other violent attacks that took place during Trump and before Trump has way more in common than states asking people to wear masks and take the shot. It's not only disingenuous, it's actually disgusting. I remember them putting up posters of Dr. King when the pandemic first started back in March, and they were using that to say that, whitewashing his memory, using his memory to say that we should have freedom. I'm not a Jew, but that disgusts me more than a racist. The idea that a white man would take Dr. King's memory and take his words and twist it to make it as though Dr. King would not have taken the pandemic seriously. Because all racists aren't gun-toting. All racists aren't out here in the streets. There's plenty of racists don't got their boots on. Their boots under the bed. Some of them don't even got boots. Don't got a gun. Just don't like black people. What they're doing will cost lives. The moves they're making, as well as the threats that they have uttered, will cost lives. A lot of them. And they know it. And I'll take a racist over that stuff any day. We're talking about, just today I heard there's another strain of COVID out here. It's called Mu. There we go. It's called Mu. It's in Colombia. It's known as B1621, or the Mu variant. And it is reported to be more resistant than vaccines and more contagious than other variants. I'm going to read it again. It's reported to be more resistant to vaccines and more contagious. This is what I'm talking about. The stuff they're doing is endangering the stability of our society, as well as they're creating a situation to where the government may have to take more severe measures in the future. They may have to. I'm not going to go into what that may be, but you're creating a situation where the disease is mutating. The disease, I've been talking about that on here. It's mutating. It's learning. It's now it's getting the kids. Now it's getting the children. In the beginning, it was old people. Now it's children getting sick and dying. Now it's healthy young people. What they're doing is and that's sad too, because when that happens, they're gonna use that. They're gonna say, "Oh, see, this is Nazism." I just it's tragic. It's very sad to think people can be so stupid to go out here and talk about a school asking a child to wear a mask is somehow doing something to their body. It's white aggrievement, and it's saying that my life matters over everybody else's life. That I, as a Caucasian, have no responsibility to anybody but myself. I don't owe anything to anybody. This is my country. It's always been this way. They've always been like this. It's just now they're loud and proud about it. That's Trump's legacy. Is you have a country, is you have a West that's not, as Obama talked about, operating in common cause, recognizing we have a shared destiny, recognizing that we want to build a civilization, and we want to deal with these crises that we have sober-mindedly, with a steadfast, unswerving purpose. Not to ignore, not to delay, but to act with deliberation. And unfortunately, what Trump did was he put the turd in the punch bowl, as I say. Because as this thing is worse, as I said before, they may need to take further action somehow, some way, but they'll have to, because it's spreading. I mean, it's very sad. And let me say this, just putting forward that last part. I spoke about democratic institutions should be supported by society. Proud Boys and groups like that, they really represent a weakness in society. They represent a type of a frustration among people who once, like I said, society revolved around them. And that now that everything isn't for them, they're putting forward this notion that people taking their kids to get shot. People are putting the mark of the beast in the shot. The shot's going to change the DNA. People are going to become mutants. Everything. This all comes back to this all goes back to the fact that there's something profoundly wrong with a society. What they're saying here is that there's no real way to reason with these people. These are terrorists. And I wish people would just call them that. These are terrorists. These are people who seek civil war, seek violence, and seek nothing more than bloodshed. They feel as though politically they've lost. You know, I'm ending with this. The violence they seek will make them politically unviable. They're making themselves criminals because nobody's doing the stuff they're talking about, and most folks know that. And so the violence they're perpetuating or threatening to perpetuate simply identifies them as terrorists. Period. Thanks for listening.